They told him to leave the track. They said his tractor would break. Before the race even started, no one said it quietly. The laughter wasn't subtle. It rolled across the dirt track like an engine revving too hard. The announcer paused mid-sentence. The officials exchanged looks. The racers leaned back in their seats, confident, relaxed, because every tractor on that starting line looked the same. New, massive, green and yellow John Deere machines with polished rims and fresh decals. High horsepower, wide tires, engines tuned for speed, not nostalgia. And then there was him. An old man stepped onto the track. Not rushed, not nervous. He drove an old tractor that looked like it had survived decades of work and weather. Faded paint, rustle on the edges, a seat cracked by time. The engine didn't roar. It growled. Someone near the fence laughed and said, "That thing belongs in a scrapyard." Another voice followed, louder, "Sir, this is a race." More laughter. The old man didn't react. He didn't turn his head, didn't raise his hand, didn't argue. He simply guided the tractor forward and lined up behind the others. The contrast was embarrassing. New tractors idled smoothly, barely vibrating. His tractor shook slightly, like it was stretching awake. An official walked over. "You can't be serious," the man said, trying to keep his voice neutral. "That machine won't last one lap." The old man looked up slowly. His face was calm, not confused, not offended, just calm. "I paid the entry fee," he said. One sentence. Nothing more. The official hesitated. Rules were rules. He stepped back. That hesitation made the laughter worse. The crowd had already decided the outcome. They weren't here to watch him race. They were here to watch him fail. Some spectators pulled out their phones, not to record history, but to record humiliation. The announcer cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, forcing enthusiasm, "we have a full lineup today." A few people clapped. Most smirked. The racers glanced sideways at the old tractor. One of them leaned toward another and whispered, "If he finishes last, we buy him lunch." They laughed. The old man adjusted his cap. That was it. No speeches. No explanations. What no one knew was that he had stood on tracks like this before. Years ago, before the paint faded, before the laughter sounded the same. But that part of the story had been buried under time and dirt. The engines revved, the ground vibrated, the flag was raised. And in that moment, just before the race began, the old man placed his hand on the steering wheel, like he was greeting an old friend, not a machine, a partner. The flag dropped. And everything everyone believed was about to be tested. The race had barely started, and people were already laughing harder. The moment the flag dropped, the difference was obvious. The new tractors surged forward like they'd been waiting for this all year. Engines screamed. Dirt exploded behind massive tires. Speed, power, confidence. And then there was the old tractor. It moved, but not fast, not even close. Within seconds, the gap opened. 10 meters. 20. More. Someone near the front shouted, "He's already done." Another voice followed, "Should have listened and stayed home." The announcer tried to sound professional, but even he couldn't hide it. "Well, looks like we have a clear separation early on." The old tractor bounced slightly over the uneven track. Its engine didn't scream. It stayed steady, almost patient. The racers ahead glanced back. One of them laughed so hard, he nearly missed a turn. They weren't racing anymore. They were performing. For the crowd, for the cameras, for their egos. The old man stayed focused, eyes forward, hands firm. He didn't chase speed. He chased rhythm. Lap 1 ended. The leaderboard flashed on the screen. His name was last. Far last, the crowd cheered louder, not for the leaders, but for the gap. "This is embarrassing," someone said. A group near the fence started counting seconds out loud. 5, 6, 7. That's how long it took him to cross the same line. The leaders had crossed moments earlier. An official leaned toward another. "We should have stopped him," he muttered. "This isn't fair." But not for the reason people assumed. They thought it wasn't fair to him. They were wrong. Because while everyone was watching speed, no one was watching strain. The new tractors were pushing hard. Too hard. Engines screaming at the red line. Drivers gripping tight, forcing every ounce of power. Meanwhile, the old tractor kept moving. Same pace, same sound, same rhythm. No sudden acceleration. No drama. Just consistency. Halfway through the second lap, something small happened. So small most people missed it. One of the leading tractors coughed. Just once. The driver ignored it. The crowd didn't notice. But the old man did. He heard it because he had spent a lifetime listening to machines tell the truth before they failed. Another lap. The laughter started to fade, not completely, but enough to change tone. Less mocking, more confused. "Why isn't it braking?" someone asked. The old tractor was still running. Still last, but still running. One racer glanced back again. This time, he didn't smile. He frowned, because the old tractor hadn't fallen farther behind. The distance stayed the same. Then, another cough, this time louder. A different tractor, a newer one. The crowd reacted. "Oh!" The driver pushed harder. Bad choice. The engine screamed once more, and then lost its smoothness. Not broken, but stressed. The old man didn't look back. He never did. He just adjusted slightly. Not speed, but balance. The way someone does, when they know what's coming. By the end of the third lap, something had changed completely. The crowd wasn't laughing anymore. They were watching. Quietly. Not because the old man was winning. He wasn't. But because he was still there. And the race was starting to look longer than anyone expected. Then the first tractor stopped. Not slowed. Not stumbled. Stopped. It happened on the far side of the track. Away from the main stands. Just a sudden change in sound. A sharp metallic crack, followed by silence. One of the newest tractors rolled to a halt, smoke curling from under the hood. The driver raised his hand. "Out!" The crowd froze. No laughter this time, just confusion. "That wasn't supposed to happen," someone whispered. Officials rushed in. The announcer cleared his throat. Looks like we got our first mechanical issue of the day." First, as if there wouldn't be more. The race continued. Now 5 tractors instead of 6. The old man passed the broken machine slowly. He didn't look at it, didn't celebrate, didn't even turn his head. But people noticed, because for the first time, he wasn't last. A murmur rippled through the stands. "Wait, he passed him?" Another voice. "Yeah, but only because the other guy broke." That's what they told themselves. That's what they needed to believe. The next lap began. The leaders pushed harder. They had something to prove now. This wasn't just a race. It was reputation. Sponsors. Pride. One driver leaned forward aggressively, forcing speed through a turn. Too aggressively. The tractor jolted. Recovered. But something was off. The engine tone changed. The old man heard it again. A strain. A plea. He adjusted his line slightly wider. Smoother. Slower. But cleaner. The crowd started noticing patterns. The fast tractors surged. Then hesitated. Surged. Then corrected. The old tractor? Never surged. Never hesitated. Just moved. Steady. Predictable. Relentless. Halfway through the lap, another machine sputtered. This time everyone heard it. The engine coughed. Once, twice, then a loud pop. The driver slammed the brakes. The tractor veered off. Dead. 2 out. Silence filled the stands. The announcer's voice cracked. Well, folks, that's another competitor out. Someone laughed nervously, not because it was funny, because they didn't know what else to do. The old tractor rolled past again. Third now, not by speed, by survival. A man near the fence leaned forward. That thing's older than my dad, he said quietly. No, someone replied. Older than mine, too. The camera crews adjusted. They weren't filming the leaders anymore. They were filming the old man, the weathered hands, the calm face. The tractor everyone had mocked. The drivers ahead started glancing back more often now, not laughing, watching, calculating, because the distance behind them was shrinking, not fast, but enough to matter. The third breakdown came suddenly. No warning, just a loud bang, a plume of smoke, and a tractor skidding sideways to a stop. The crowd gasped. 3 new tractors. Out! Only 2 remain ahead of the old man. The announcer didn't even try to hide it now. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Neither did the racers. The 2 remaining drivers exchanged glances. This wasn't fun anymore. This wasn't a joke. This was pressure. They pushed harder. Mistake. The track wasn't built for sprinting. It was built for endurance. And endurance had a memory. Every forced turn, every overheated engine, every ignored warning. The old man's tractor had no computer, no sensors, no dashboard screaming alerts, just metal and experience, and a driver who knew when not to push. As they entered the final lap before the break, one of the last 2 tractors slowed, not broken, but scared. The driver eased off, trying to protect the machine. The other didn't. He accelerated. Hard. The crowd rose to its feet, not cheering, holding breath, because now the old tractor wasn't chasing from behind anymore. It was close. Close enough that people could hear it. Steady, unbothered, unbroken. And for the first time that day, the laughter was gone. Completely. The crowd realized something terrifying. The old tractor wasn't surviving by luck. It was winning by design. The final stretch of the race approached. Only 3 tractors remained on the track. 2 brand new John Deeres. And one machine everyone had laughed at. The announcer lowered his voice, almost unconsciously. We are entering the most unexpected final stretch I've seen in 20 years. Nobody cheered. Nobody laughed. Everyone was standing now. The driver in the lead tightened his grip. His tractor was faster, but it didn't feel right anymore. The engine temperature light flickered. He ignored it. Second place wasn't thinking about speed. He was thinking about the old man, about how that rusted tractor was still there, still breathing, still chasing. He glanced back. Big mistake. For just a second, he missed a turn. The tractor hit a bump. Not hard, just enough. The suspension bottomed out. A violent jolt shot through the frame. The sound changed. Everyone heard it. A deep, painful groan. The driver tried to compensate. The tractor slowed, then slowed more. Then, a sharp hiss. Steam exploded upward. The crowd gasped. The driver slammed the brakes. Out! Only 2 remained. 1 new tractor. 1 old. The track felt smaller now. Closer. The announcer swallowed. Ladies and gentlemen, it's down to 2. The old man adjusted his posture. Not nervous. Not excited. Focused. Like he'd been here before. The younger driver ahead could feel it now. The presence. The pressure of something that refused to die. He pushed harder. Too hard. The engine screamed. The tractor surged forward. The crowd reacted. half cheering, half pleading. Come on, come on. But the sound wasn't right. It wasn't power. It was panic. The old tractor didn't surge. It didn't scream. It rolled. Steady RPM. Smooth turns. Every movement deliberate, like it was conserving something precious. The announcer noticed it too. That tractor is not fighting the track. No, it was working with it. The distance between them closed, meter by meter, not fast, but unavoidable. The younger driver felt sweat drip down his back. He'd raced this tractor dozens of times. It had never failed. But today it was hot. Today it was tired. Today it was being asked to prove something. The old man wasn't proving anything. He was just finishing. They entered the last major turn. The crowd leaned forward as one body. Phones forgotten. Cameras shaking. The new tractor took the turn aggressively. Too tight. The engine cut for half a second. Just half. But half was enough. The old tractor took the wider line. Smooth. Balanced. It exited the turn still moving. Still calm. Still alive. Now they were side by side. The noise was deafening. People shouting. Someone yelling his name, though most didn't even know it. They just knew the story now. The rusted tractor. The old man. The laughter that aged badly. The announcer almost shouted now. I don't believe what I'm seeing. The younger driver pushed one last time. Full throttle. No restraint. No margin. The engine responded, then screamed, then snapped. A violent bang echoed across the track. The tractor lurched. The driver fought the wheel. Too late. Smoke poured out. The machine slowed, then stopped, dead. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't scream. They went silent, because rolling past the broken machine was the tractor they mocked. The old man didn't look over, didn't raise his fist, didn't celebrate. He just kept going, crossing the line. Alone, the checkered flag waved, and nobody knew how to react. The announcer finally spoke, voice shaking. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner is the tractor everyone said wouldn't finish. People stared at the track, at the old man, at the machine that refused to quit. Someone whispered, "What did we just watch?" The old man slowed near the edge of the track, shut the engine off. Silence returned. Then one clap, then another, then dozens, then hundreds. Applause erupted. Not loud, not wild, respectful, heavy, earned. The old man removed his cap, wiped his forehead, looked out at the crowd. Not smug, not proud, just tired and calm. Like this wasn't a miracle. Like this was exactly how he expected it to end. Everyone thought the race was over. They were wrong. That's when the real story began. The old man didn't climb down immediately. He stayed seated, hands resting on the steering wheel, eyes closed, like he was listening to something only he could hear. The crowd waited. Some people were already walking closer. Others stayed frozen in their seats. Nobody wanted to break the moment. Finally, the old man opened his eyes. He stepped down slowly. The tractor ticked as it cooled, metal popping softly, like it was breathing out. A race official approached. "Sir, we need to inspect the tractor." The old man nodded. Of course. Behind them, the other drivers stood near their machines. Brand new tractors, open hoods, steam, oil, broken belts, blown hoses. One by one, the reasons appeared. Too much power, too much heat, too much pride. The inspection crew circled the old tractor. They expected something. Hidden mods, illegal upgrades, some trick, but what they found confused them. No turbo, no modern electronics, no performance parts, just clean mechanics, perfectly maintained. One inspector frowned. This thing shouldn't have survived. The old man smiled faintly. That's what they said about me, too. Someone from the crowd laughed softly, not mocking, understanding. The announcer stepped closer, microphone lowered. Sir, can we ask you something? The old man hesitated, then nodded. They handed him the mic. His voice was calm, weathered, real. You all laughed when I came in, he said. No anger, just truth. I don't blame you. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. He rested his hand on the tractor's hood. This machine was built before shortcuts existed, before plastic parts, before plan failure. She was made to work all day, not look good doing it. He paused, let the words settle. I didn't build her to win races. I built her to survive them. One of the younger drivers stepped forward, the one who'd blown his engine. He looked embarrassed, ashamed. Sir, why didn't yours overheat? The old man looked at him. Because I never asked her to be more than she was. Silence. Then, because I knew her limits. I respected them. That's the difference. The younger driver nodded slowly, like something clicked. The announcer swallowed. Sir, people want to know. Who are you? The old man exhaled. Name's Walter. Walter Hayes. Been farming this land for 50 years. Some gasps. Older folks in the crowd whispered. Hayes? That Hayes? Someone recognized the name. The announcer's eyes widened. Wait, Hayes Farms? Walter nodded. Used to be. Sold most of it years back. Kept enough to stay busy. People looked at each other. That farm was legendary. Known for endurance. For crops surviving droughts that killed others. For machines that ran when everyone else quit. The announcer leaned in. Sir, you could afford anything here. Why race this tractor? Walter looked at the rust, the dents, the scars. Because this tractor was laughed at its whole life. Just like me. When I bought her, they said she was outdated, too slow, too weak, too old. I was told the same thing. He looked around. I didn't come to prove them wrong. I came to remind myself I wasn't finished. The crowd went still. Phones lowered. Nobody blinking. One of the inspectors cleared his throat. Sir, the tractor is legal, fully compliant, perfectly within spec. The announcer raised his voice. You heard that. Folks, no tricks, no cheating. Just, Walter interrupted gently. Just care, maintenance, patience, and knowing when not to push. Applause broke out again, this time louder, deeper. The younger drivers stepped forward. One by one, they shook Walter's hand, not for winning, for teaching them something they didn't know they needed. The announcer turned to crowd. Today wasn't about speed. It wasn't about horsepower. It was about something else. Walter looked back at the tractor, ran his hand across the hood. She didn't win because she was fast. She won because she was ready. The sun dipped lower. Long shadows stretched across the track. The crowd slowly dispersed. But nobody forgot. They came for entertainment. They left with a lesson. And as Walter climbed back on the tractor, someone shouted, Will you race again next year? Walter smiled, started the engine. It turned over instantly, smooth, alive. He looked back once. If she's still running, I will be too. And the tractor rolled away, not loudly, not proudly, but unstoppable. The laughter didn't stop that day. It changed direction. A week after the race, people were still talking, not about the speed, not about the trophy, but about Walter, about the tractor that shouldn't have survived, about the man who didn't argue, didn't explain, didn't prove. He just showed up at the diner that Monday morning. Conversations paused when Walter walked in. Same old jacket, same boots, same calm walk, but something was different. People moved chairs. made space. Someone paid for his coffee before he reached the counter. Walter noticed. Didn't say anything, just nodded. Respect doesn't announce itself. It shows up quietly. At the dealership across town, the race was being replayed on a loop. Salesmen gathered around the screen. New models, bigger engines, more features. None of them won. The manager leaned back and said something nobody expected. We've been selling power wrong. They rewound the clip. The moment when the new tractors overheated. The moment Walters didn't. Not because it was stronger, because it was prepared. That week, a service bulletin went out. Preventive maintenance education. Operator discipline. Respecting machine limits. Words that had always existed, but were never respected until an old man embarrassed an industry without raising his voice. The younger racers felt it the most. One of them showed up at Walter's farm. Truck parked awkwardly, hands in pockets. "Sir, I just wanted to say..." Walter waved him in. They walked through the shed. Walter showed him the tractor. No secrets, just habits. Oil changes early. Belts replaced before they failed. Listening to the engine, feeling vibration, stopping before damage. The kid swallowed. "They never teach us this." Walter nodded. "They teach you how to push. They forget to teach you when to stop." The kid stayed 3 hours. Left quieter, smarter. Months passed. The race became a story. The story became a lesson. The lesson became a warning. People stopped laughing at old machines so quickly. Stopped mocking worn tools. Stopped underestimating quiet men. Because everyone remembered how wrong they were. The next year, the tractor race returned. Bigger crowd. More sponsors. More cameras. Walter didn't register. People asked why. He smiled. "I already ran my race." But he did show up. Sat on the bleachers. Watched. When a new tractor overheated, people didn't laugh. They looked toward Walter. He didn't say, "I told you so." He just nodded. Near the end of the day, a young boy approached him. Couldn't have been more than 10. "Mister, why did they laugh at you?" Walter thought for a moment, because they thought loud meant strong. The boy frowned. "What's strong then?" Walter placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Strong is what still works when nobody's watching." The boy nodded like he'd just learned something important. Because he had. That tractor still runs. Still works fields. Still starts on the first turn. Walter still drives it. Still maintains it. Still respects it. He never added horsepower. Never upgraded. Never changed what it needed changing. Because he understood something others didn't. Not everything old is weak. Not everything quiet is small. And not everything laughed at is wrong. The crowd laughed once. They never laughed again. Because the joke wasn't on Walter. It was on everyone who confused noise with strength. Final line. They laughed at him. They laughed at his tractor. But in the end, the only thing that broke was their assumption